Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you watched my previous vlog, you would know that we were seriously house hunting and we recently reserved our dream home. Yay! Judging by the comments and messages I received, many of you were convinced that we'd found our dream home and that a move was imminent. The truth is, we thought so. In fact, for a period of time, we were totally committed to it. Of course, we were excited. We had reserved our dream home, and the next step was to make sure that we involve our solicitors, all the paperwork, mortgage application, and all that. We stopped viewing properties, ran numbers, and genuinely believed we were entering a new chapter. But somewhere along the line, things began to change. Hold on, don't be in a hurry. I'm going to break down everything for you guys. The only thing I'll try not to do is to use specific numbers to avoid all sorts of controversies, right? But I'll give you pure illustrations so you get where we're coming from. So today I want to share the full story of why we have decided not to move, why we pulled out of the purchase, and how that decision currently led to the renovation of the home you're about to see on this channel. And honestly, looking back now, I can confidently say that it was one of the best decisions we've ever made. Before we proceed, I just want to give you guys an idea of the house we reserved, just a few clips of the house we reserved, because it was a dream. It was the dream. When I tell you that I can't put into words how much we were drained emotionally with this process, it took me months of praying to God to be like, you know what, give me a sign. Give me a sign. And that sign should just come in any form. And God was just dishing out the signs one by one. Like many families, we reached a point where we felt we had outgrown our current house. As an interior designer, I spend my days helping clients create beautiful and functional spaces. Yet somehow I had convinced myself that what we needed was more square footage. I started focusing on what our house didn't have: an extra room, a bigger layout, more storage, and before long, moving felt like the obvious solution. So we started looking, just as you guys saw on the first episode. We found a property we really like and began taking steps towards making it happen. And if I'm being very honest, we wanted it so badly. Oh my God, I wanted it so badly. You guys can obviously tell from my excitement from the previous vlog, we really wanted it, not just a little bit. We really wanted it. One thing I haven't told you guys is how much we prayed fervently for this particular move. Every morning, it was one of our prayer points. The kids knew to, whoever was praying that morning knew to put it in our prayer point every night, every now and then. Hallelujah challenge. All of them, we prayed. Oh, we prayed. And at the end of the day, we would end it with, let your will be done. Let your will be done, because we knew we were taking a huge step, both physically, emotionally, most importantly, financially. We prayed like our lives depended on it. And guess what? We genuinely believed this was a direction we're supposed to take. Every decision was covered in prayer. Every viewing, every conversation, we asked God repeatedly to make it happen if this was right for us. But something interesting started happening. Instead of doors swinging open, we kept encountering obstacles. At first, they seemed small and we would just scale through. Then another challenge appeared, and another. Every stage felt unusually stressful. What should have been straightforward suddenly became complicated. And then I was even wondering, why? What's happening? Like, why does it feel like every time we pray, the more we pray for this thing, the more we encounter challenges? It was like things were going left. What should have moved smoothly suddenly became stalled. The frustrations kept building. We couldn't understand why things weren't falling into place. Yet the obstacles never stopped coming. Looking back now, I truly believe God was answering our prayers, but just not in the way we expected. Sometimes we pray for an open door and God answers by closing the wrong one. Now, the biggest hurdle of all became the mortgage rates. We kept waiting and waiting and waiting. Like many people at the time, we hoped the rate would reduce. We hoped things would improve enough to make the numbers work comfortably. Now, don't get me wrong. We had our decision in principle, as at the time of reservation. If you've been buying properties, you will know that you can't even reserve without your DIP. So at that time, the numbers were good, like fair, at least under 5%, I would say. and we felt it was something that we could fly with. Listen, if you own a house, you understand why these rates matter a lot. You know the difference between your capital repayment and the interest? It's crazy when the rates are high. So at that time, it was still a little bit under 5% or just on that 5% rate. And we were like, we could manage because this was a house that was worth over 500,000. So you can imagine with the high rates, what the monthly repayment would be and what the capital repayment and all that would be. So we could manage under 5%, like just on close to 5%. But at the time when we had reserved and we had to now properly apply for the mortgage, the rate went over the roof. I'm telling you now, we were talking 6 point something percent. Hey, God, I beg. Affordability wise, yes, we could afford, but was that not going to lead us to become house poor? Imagine working every day just to pay your mortgage. I don't believe that the fact that you have the affordability means you must go for like the highest affordability. Do you get what I'm saying? So we looked at it and we're like, we could manage. Yes, we can afford it, but was that the right financial decision as a family? With kids that are grown, because my two sons, in fact, Mona was soon going to university. So was that the right decision for us to make as a family financially, just because we want to acquire our dream home? So we kept hoping that things would improve enough to make the numbers work for us, right? But the bank rate stubbornly remained above 6%. And every time we sat down to look at the figures, the reality became harder to ignore. Yes, we could have stretched ourselves. Yes, we could have made it work on paper, but we could have been taking on a level of financial pressure that simply didn't sit right with us. We've reached a point where we had to ask ourselves the difficult questions. Oh my God, I remember that night. And because Hobby is someone that holds on to me, like he looks up to me a lot because I am the risk taker, right? When we saw the numbers and we saw that, okay, it was still within our affordability, but it didn't sit well with me. I was so skeptical to even share it with Hobby, like to share my feelings with him. We told our broker that we're going to think about it, if we're going to go ahead with it. And we just sat with it. Both me and Hobby became strangers to ourselves for the next 48 hours because I was avoiding him and he knew I was avoiding him because I just had this burden in my heart that I felt if I voiced out, it was going to be the end. Because the moment Hobby sensed that I wasn't really, like, the person you trust that is a risk taker is now scared, I just knew he was gonna, like, you know what, let's just leave it. So I tried my possible best to keep it to myself, to keep my feelings, to keep my fears. But deep down, I needed to think hard about it. I needed to, like, think with my head and not with my heart. Not because, oh, I really want this house, I want this, I want that, I want that. So because of that, I would just block my sense of reasoning. So I gave myself 48 hours and I told myself that if after 48 hours I was still feeling so troubled, then I will have to speak to Hobby. So 48 hours came. In fact, the night I spoke to Hobby, he walked into the room and saw me crying. I cried like a baby, like I shed tears because this was more than 6 months of our lives, dreaming, planning, everything just about to change. So I cried. I knew that I needed to cry because I knew the next decision we were about to make. So he was like, what's going on? I said, you know what? We need to talk. We need to talk. And then he said, why are you crying first? Tell me why you're crying first before we talk. I said, I don't think we should go through with this. He said, what? I said, I don't think we should go through with this, baby. Listen, I know we want this house. I know we really want this house. But at this point, I don't think it's the right financial decision. Do you know what scared me the most? The high rate and our monthly repayments, we're talking about thousands and thousands of pounds that would go into the interest repayments. That's how bad it was because the more the rates, the more interest you pay. And you know that your capital repayment will be literally nothing, maybe less than 1,000. That's how crazy it would have been. It just felt like you're going to be working and giving bank your money. So I cried. I just told her, you know what? Let's leave it. Let's just send this email to cancel this reservation. And I knew that the moment we send that email, it was going to be it. Hobby said, if you're sure, If you are very, very sure that your mind is made up, then send that email. It was one of the toughest decisions I've had to make in a short while. But guess what? I was so relieved. I felt like I had landed. There was that breath of fresh air. Oh my God. I was so relieved. I had peace. I don't know how to describe it, but I was super relieved. That was when we went on our family holiday, and it felt like therapy for me. I went on that trip with a very heavy heart. Very heavy heart, but I felt like I needed that holiday at that time. So we left and we came back with a different mindset. In fact, during the holiday, that was when both myself and hubby, we agreed that we're going to come back, look at our house, ask ourselves how we can make this house work for us. Our house is actually a big house. It's a big 4-bedroom house, okay? 4 toilets and bathrooms. So it's quite a big 4-bedroom house with a very massive garden. We agreed that we would start with creating more storage, creating a layout that would work for everybody, for the whole family. We had to check back into our house and looking around, and we decided to make it work for us. As an interior designer, I know better than most people that bigger isn't always better. The truth is that many homes actually are not limited by their size. They are limited by their layouts. They are limited by poor space planning. They are limited by rooms that are not functioning the way they should. I suddenly realized I had been looking outside of my home for solutions, when perhaps the answer was already right inside it. Instead of spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on additional square footage, what if we invested in making our current home work harder for us? What if we redesigned the way we lived? What if we improved flow? What if we maximized every room? What if we solved the actual problem rather than just buying a larger property? And that single shift in thinking changed everything. One thing I can say is that once we made that decision, there was a strange sense of peace. The frustration disappeared. The uncertainty disappeared. We stopped chasing the move and started focusing on transformation. What followed was months of renovation, planning, dust, delays, decision making, and all the things that come with creating a home. But this time, we weren't trying to fit our lives into someone else's house. We were creating a home specifically designed around how our family lives. Every decision became intentional. Every room had a purpose. Every inch of space had to earn its place. That's where good design comes in. Because good design isn't just about having the biggest house. It's about making your house function beautifully. If there is one thing I hope people take away from this story, it's this. Please don't feel the pressure to move simply because you think your home is no longer working for you. Sometimes moving is absolutely the right decision, but sometimes the answer isn't a bigger mortgage. Sometimes the answer is better planning, better layouts, better storage, better design. As an interior designer, I have seen homes transformed without adding a single square footage. I've seen families gain functionality, beauty, and comfort simply by rethinking how they use their space. And that's exactly what happened with us. What we thought was a setback became one of our biggest lessons. Looking back now, I am genuinely happy that that move didn't happen. At the time, we were disappointed. Oh yes, we were disappointed. We couldn't understand why every step felt so difficult. But now I can see that every stumbling block was directing us to somewhere better. Not to a new house, but to a new version of this house. A home that works for us. A home that reflects us. A home we love. And in the next videos, guess what? I am finally going to be sharing the transformation with you all. The before, the design decisions, the challenges, and of course, the full house tour. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Stay fabulous. Bye.